She's like, I need you to follow the sound of my voice. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, you need to come get me. So he was like, I can't come get you. And I was like, why? Don't you have on night vision goggles? He was like, no. And I said, what? Like in my mind, I've already set up how they got this set up. He says, I'm blind. Oh my gosh. What do you mean follow the sound of your voice? I cannot see you. And sometimes that's how I be feeling with God. Now I'm about to cry. Like, what do you mean trust your voice? I cannot see you in this situation. You're telling me to go? Hello, everyone. If you can hear the sound of my voice, that means that you are tuned into actually with Jordan Alexa, where we are flipping perspectives, challenging norms, sparking insight, and encouraging you to think for your own self. And we do that by simply having real, authentic conversation. If it is your first time here, hello, I'm Jordan Alexa. I'm actually Jordan Alexa. That's me. And if you are back, hey y'all, how y'all doing? Please go ahead and gather around because I got to get some stuff off my chest. Ooh. Y'all, I'm frazzled, stressed. I am shaking. I have got a lot going on. Oh my goodness. I am going through a lot right now. First of all, before I even get into the nitty gritty, this episode, I recorded it yesterday. As in not today, not right now. Yesterday. I recorded it yesterday. The audio got corrupted. Some junk. I don't know. Y'all, when I tell y'all, crash out isn't the word. Y'all are about to see me on the news. Okay? It was about to be breaking news. The Hulk is real. I could have went outside and ripped the street up. Okay? Struggling. So that's number one. Like literally, not even the icing on the cake, the sprinkles, okay? Because under that, in the midst of that, there's a lot going on in my life right now. There's so much change, there's so much moving, there's so much happening, it's so much. It is so much. And honestly, I do not do well with change. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it here before. I don't do well. Woo, it just does something to me. I feel like I'm being backed up against the wall. Like I feel like I'm being bullied. And the truth is, I just like having control. And we know that's not how life works. But anyways, I have a lot of things going on. There's a lot of changes happening. And a lot of times when that happens, I find myself getting like frustrated a lot. So number one, this happening, like the stuff with the audio happening, you can imagine. You could have sat me outside and I would have shot up to space. Like that's how on fire I was. But a lot of things frustrate me. And one of the things that has been frustrating me lately, because I keep seeing it everywhere and I get it, because there's not only a lot going on with me, there's a lot going on in society, politics, outside. You know, it's just there's a lot happening in general. This is a crazy time. Everybody keeps saying, just do what makes you happy. Y'all. Every time I see that, I literally like before when people say, yeah, just do what makes you happy. I'm like, right, yeah, whatever. Now it makes me want to fight because it's not true. You can't just do whatever makes you happy. And, you know, maybe it's that I'm finding that out. Maybe it's that I have been on the pursuit of happiness and I'm figuring out that's not how life works. And don't get me wrong, joy, yes, joy is a fruit of the spirit. And I have joy. Ooh, but life trying to steal it. Life is trying to take it away from me. I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to put up a fight because I have access to it through Christ Jesus. But listen, I'm not talking about joy. I'm not talking about like peace in the midst. I'm talking about people just saying you can just do whatever makes you happy and that's it. And I think that it gets to be a little frustrating for me because I feel like when people say that, they're talking about living a life of ease, living a life of comfort, living a life, where there's instant gratification, basically. You guys know I've said it over and over again. I'll be happy living in the jungle feeding elephants. But unfortunately, life is not that simple. And so I have been in a place where I've just been realizing, like, chasing happiness or chasing, just wanting things to be easy causes you to be stuck, causes you to be stagnant. And I know that for so many people, it's not that deep. Like, for some people, it is as simple as I just want to wake up and I just want to drink my coffee. I just want to go for walks. I'm describing the life that I be saying, because I be trying to be normal so bad. I mean, this is what I be saying. I just want to wake up. I just want to. Anyways, but creating a life that just makes you happy oftentimes is just simply about living a life that is comfortable, and it's not that deep for everybody, but it is that deep for me. And I was talking to a friend recently, and they were talking to me about, just like some of the stuff they had going on in their life. And I don't know if you guys have ever felt like you be doing good, everything's fine, but you feel like something's missing, or you feel like you're not doing enough, or you feel like, you feel like a dud, like you feel like you're not living up to your greatest potential, and you're looking around, it's like everything's fine, like this doesn't make any sense, like money's good, living situation's good, I could do whatever I want to do, but something in me is like, this is not enough. And I genuinely believe that sometimes life, God, your purpose, your assignment, whatever, calls you higher. Like, it basically knocks at your heart and says, you don't stop here. There's more for you. And they were saying, like, everything's fine, everything's whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I just keep feeling like I'm not good enough. Or I just keep feeling like, and that's what life does. Like, that's what God does. God allows for you to, in life and seasons, you grow and you get to a certain point and you feel like you might have mastered it. And then all of a sudden you feel like you know absolutely nothing. And it's because, I don't know if you guys ever heard about, a goldfish grows as big as the tank that it's in. I just saw this article the other day that people who release the goldfish, like, jumbo size. So little goldfish that Timmy had grew to be like 5-6 feet long. And it's because your situation is getting bigger, right? And I know that sometimes we pray for increase. We pray for God to do more with us. We pray for God to bless us and stuff like that. And I don't think that we consider sometimes when the blessing is big, sometimes when the provision is big, we got to get bigger. So in the midst of change, you start to feel like this friction. You start to feel like, and it's because in order for you to get to that bigger place, that bigger blessing, that bigger situation, you yourself have to get bigger. Ugh. So I'm talking to me. Anyway, I was talking to this friend and they were saying, they're going through all this stuff and, they feel how they feel. And we were talking and they were just saying, like, I'm overthinking it. it's not that serious. And as they were talking, I could clearly see how the things that, they were comfortable in were detrimental to who it is that, I've heard them say that they believe that they are, or, even in praying for them, that I know that they're, called to whatever. And I was literally sitting there and I said, comfort does not always equal safety. Where you are comfortable does not always mean that you are safe. And it's so interesting because the human mind is literally structured for like survival. And it sees things as you're going to live, you're going to die. That's it. That's how it sees things. And so in situations, let's take a situation like mine, I'm in the midst of change and I'm going through it so bad. It's because my brain is saying, you're going to croak. If you don't stop, if you don't stick to what it is that you know, if you don't keep doing what it is that you've been doing, you're going to die. And the thing about that is I have always been a person, planning McGee. Literally, I need to know what's happening. I need to know what comes after that. I need to know. And so a lot of times the way that God deals with me is he don't tell me nothing. He just say go. He reveals things to me in breadcrumbs. I'd be so jealous of people who the Lord be like, do this, do that, do this, and this is going to happen. And they be like, oh, like their stress comes in actually doing the thing. I don't mind doing it if you just tell me what it is that I'm supposed to do. Just tell me. But he don't do that. He don't lay it out for me. He just be like, all right, do this. All right, now do this. All right, now do this. It's so frustrating. If you're watching and you're saying this girl's crazy, it's because you are seeing me going through this emotion in real time. When I say that I'm on the fritz, when I say that I am literally stressed, I genuinely mean that wholeheartedly right now as I sit here talking to you. But, I myself, or I've seen people stay in jobs, stay in cities, stay in situations, stay in relationships, keep mindsets because, it wasn't that bad. Like, it's not that bad. I have everything that I need. And so I'm fine. And that's not necessarily true. Even like thinking about myself, how I just said God deals with me a certain way. I have a go-getter's mentality, right? So if you give me the plan, you give me the blueprint, let's go get it. God literally forces me to operate from a place of faith and operate from a place of rest. And I'll be like, what do you mean sit down? But I'm comfortable in working hard. I'm comfortable in exerting myself. I'm comfortable even, I think I want to talk about, burnout because okay. But my body or me in my mind, I'm used to operating under a certain level of stress or under a certain level of pressure. And now that I'm getting older, I know that I told y'all that being 30, everything has changed, right? And so now that I'm getting older, my body is not responding to stress the same way that it used to respond to stress. Like before, I'd be stressed out. It'd be like, all right, time to go. Now it's like, oh my God, like, I'm having chest pains, I'm freaking out. It's all types of stuff, right? But I was comfortable in operating in a certain way. And now that God is calling me out of that, I am uncomfortable. I'm extremely uncomfortable, right? And let's, just staying on the side of like God telling me to rest. I feel like if I lay down, then something's going to roll over me. Something's going to squish me. Something's going to suffocate me, right? Is that true? I hope not. I hope it's not true. But that is what my mind is telling me right now. It's telling me if I do the opposite of what it is that I'm used to doing, or if I go against the grain, or if I step outside of my comfort zone, it's over for you, baby girl. So being in the midst of pursuing happiness, being in the midst of pursuing comfort, I'm now in a place where, you know, I've realized that has caused me, like I said earlier, to be stagnant, or caused me to be hesitant when approaching or trying to do certain things. And in reflection, it really causes me to think like, do I really want comfort or do I want fulfillment? Right. And I think that that's what a lot of people are saying when they say, just live a life that makes you happy. I think that what people are looking for is fulfillment. And sometimes I think that part of the reason why that is a little jarring to me is because now, you know, being in my position, I'm realizing that saying like, just live a life that makes you happy is almost like a giving up, a settling, like all this other stuff is going on. I can't, right? And I get it because even today, y'all, even today, it's like, is all of this worth it? Is all of this worth my time? Is all of this worth my energy? Is all of this worth possibly, being disappointed? Is all of this worth possibly being rejected? Is all of this possibly worth being, talked about? And so it's just like, just be. But like I said, it's not that deep for some people, but it really is that deep for me. And so am I striving for happiness? Am I striving for comfort, or am I striving for fulfillment? It really is that deep for me. And I know that for me, growth is really important. Like, I never want to be somebody where I look back and I'm in the same place I was. I won't even say last year, because some things take time, but I never want to be the person who's like, I'm in the exact same spot that I was in 5 years ago. Right. And so it's caused me to question my motives. It's caused me to question my decisions that I make it now. It's like, all right, girl, if nothing changed and you were in this same spot doing the same thing 5 years, 10 years from now, are you going to be okay? The question is, if the answer to the question is no, then I'm caught up in chasing comfort. I'm caught up in, staying in my comfort zone. And that's not safe. When I say what's comfortable to you is not always safe. When I say safe, what I mean is like beneficial. I mean, like edifying to your life and who you are, right? So there are some things that right now I'm having to implement into my life, or I'm having to do, or I'm having to strive for. And there are some things that we're comfortable we're doing, or we're fine in doing, but going to the next level is what would be best for you to be able to, I don't know, increase your finances, or, just better you overall as a human being, or cause you to walk in your purpose fully, or cause you to, reveal more of your assignment to you. And I feel like sometimes, once again, it might not be this deep for you, but it's this deep for me. I think a lot of times we get so self-centered and self-focused. Granted, it's your life. So you are worried about you. You are worried about what you got going on. But everything that we do affects everybody around us, and it has the potential to impact people around us. And sometimes you staying in that place, it's not safe for you, because it's detrimental not only for you, but for the people that it would affect if you don't make those changes. Let's say, for instance, you want to be a nurse. I don't know. but you don't want to go back to school, right? You don't want to go back to school because it'll be challenging. You don't want to go back to school because it's going to take up your time. You don't want to go back to school because being a nurse is serious, and you being a nurse is serious. Like, you never know how you being in an arena, you operating in an area of expertise can literally change somebody's life. And so we have to become okay with not being comfortable. That's like even right now, I'm uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable because I literally did this yesterday. I literally recorded this episode yesterday. And I'm sitting here in my mind, I'm like, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I capturing what it is that I did yesterday? Am I speaking to the person the way I spoke, And it's like, today, I ain't gonna hold you. Today could have been the deciding factor between, you know what, bump it, I'm done. Like, that's how much, that's how upset, that's how frazzled, that's how irritated I was and am a little bit, like very much so. And so you never know what getting out of your comfort zone or, operating out of what makes you happy will do for not only you, but for somebody else. So naturally, for me, very reflective. It causes me to ask myself, like, what is the issue with trying to maintain comfort, trying to stay in a certain place and not threaten what it is that you're used to? And of course, the first thing that pops up is failure, right? Failure is not, nobody wants to fail. All these people who be like, yeah, when I fail, I just get back up. It's just one more step closer to a yes. I'm so glad that you have that mentality. I'm so glad that you adopted that. I'm so happy for you. But the idea of failure for me is not like that. It's really like, all right, so maybe I just shouldn't waste my time. So the idea of failure is very jarring. It's very rattling. It's very, especially when you have, a past that you've dealt with a lot of disappointment. You've dealt with a lot of rejection. You've dealt with a lot of no's. It's kind of like, why keep going? And it doesn't just apply in, this situation specifically. It can bleed out in your life entirely, right? But on the other hand, not just failure, success. I don't think people understand that success can be just as traumatizing as failure. I was listening to somebody, I forgot who it was. There was an interview, and they were talking about how, like, they had to go to therapy. I think a lot of times we think about therapy as, oh, if you're sad, if something's wrong, if you need to fix something, you go to therapy, get it fixed, then you become a happy person. No. This person experienced success, and it was so jarring, like it jolted them so fast and so hard that it literally messed with their psyche. Like, it traumatized them, and they had to get help. They really had to get help for it. And so the idea of success can be just as daunting as the idea of failure. I don't think people understand that. I think we get so caught up in, I got to do it. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it's going to happen. And I'm going to be, when I get there, I'm going to be so happy. And it's like, whoa, even the process itself can be excruciating. It's like you think about somebody climbing to the top of a mountain. I was looking, I saw like a waterfall or something like that. And it said that the hike was like 10 miles. And I was like, there and back, just there? Like, wait. I was like, I'm not willing. I am not willing to walk those 10 miles to get to that waterfall. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's going to hurt. Before I do, I got to do some training or something, But that process, I'm sure, does not feel good before you get to the mountaintop moment, before you get to the view, before you get to, the experience that it is that you're looking for. there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of agony, there's a lot of tiredness, there's a lot of isolation, there's a lot. And I think that sometimes we may anticipate that, if that makes any sense, before we, especially for people who have gone through great change or experienced things before. It's like, I'm gonna have to go through all this just to get here. We don't know. Once again, is it worth it? Is it worth it? You know? But you have to choose to believe that it is. You have to choose to believe that it is worth it, that it is worth your time, and that it is beneficial for you. Because you staying in that place, it's just not safe, you know? I know people who are comfortable. They're more comfortable being in situations where a shootout can happen at any moment. And they're like, yeah, these my people. Happy for you. But bullets don't have names on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you're comfortable there does not mean that you are safe. It does not mean that you are safe. And so, I don't know. I feel like instead of harping on the uncomfort of a process or the uncomfort of possibly doing something, we have to get acquainted with being uncomfortable. And what I'm trying to figure out right now is change is inevitable. How do I become acquainted with change? Like, how do I become familiar with the idea of change? Because I'll probably never like change. You know, I'll probably never be somebody who's like, change is coming? Yeah, go ahead. You know? But how do I become somebody who is okay with things around me shifting and moving? And I believe that you have to be able to identify between what genuinely is something that is for your detriment, like something that is bad for you, something that is, not happening in your favor, versus just being like just a moment of discomfort, right? I was talking to some friends the other day, and they were somebody was talking about how they were like, and I went through that, and that was 12 months. It was 12 months, because I remember they were saying it was 12 months of this, and I was sitting there, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, "What's 12 months to a promise?" You know, what's temporary time to what it is that God wants to give you? What is temporary time to what it is that God wants to bless you with? What is a moment compared to your bettering, like you being a better person, you getting to a place that is literally can potentially change the trajectory of your life? You have to be able to say, like, okay, is this something that is strangling me, suffocating me, or is it something that is just it's stretching me? It's just making me feel, uncomfortable. And even in that, like, there is a such thing as like bad discomfort and good discomfort. Like, good discomfort, you can look at it and see how it is adding value to your life, how it is increasing you. And bad discomfort is like you're drained. Like, listen, I have been in situations where I've stayed in contracts longer than I should have, for the sake of money, for the sake of money, for the sake of, the name that it was attached to. And when I tell you the discomfort that I experienced in that, like I said earlier, I'm used to operating at a certain amount of stress and under a certain amount of pressure, right? So I'm feeling like, okay, it's whatever. I just got to deal with it because I'm super comfortable getting this extra amount of money. I know it's coming in, whatever. But at the same time, I'm being depleted. I'm exhausted. I don't have time for my own creative stuff. Like, it's a whole bunch of stuff happening in the midst of that discomfort. You see what I'm saying? So that would be a bad discomfort, even though I was comfortable in it and I was comfortable in, operating in that way. The discomfort that came along with it, I identified that discomfort as, oh, this is just part of it. This is just what comes along with it, right? And it wasn't true. It was something that I needed to get rid of. It was something that I needed to step away from. And so I did. And even that put me in a discomfort of, well, where's this money going to come from? Like, how am I going to be able to do this? And how am I going to be able to do that? Which stretched my faith, which would be an example of good discomfort. And I think it's so interesting that I was always in sports. I was always involved in extracurricular activities where my mentors, my coaches, whatever, had us operate at a high level, right? Such a high level. So I feel like sometimes I am able to identify good discomfort more easily, but at the same time, trauma, whatever. Doesn't it always lead to that? Who cares? Anyways, there sometimes I operate in bad discomfort as if it's a good thing. And so you have to be able to distinguish between the two. What is a good discomfort and what is a bad discomfort? I think which is probably why I might be in the situation that I'm in now. When you aren't able to identify between the two, or when you just don't take the time to assess your situation in general, you end up frustrated like me and flustered. Well, moving on. I think another thing that being able to navigate discomfort brings is becoming okay with stepping into the unfamiliar or the unseen. And there was this one time I went to, I don't know if y'all remember, in Atlanta, they had the bodies exhibit and the darkness exhibit, right? So when I was in 9th grade, the basketball team was going on a trip to the bodies exhibit and the darkness exhibit. And because I guess I was a good student, me and my friend, the basketball coach, who was like a health teacher, invited us to go on the field trip with them. I was like, yeah, because, I'm a science girly through and through. I love science delicious. Yes, teach me something. I love knowledge. I love it, right? I love a museum. I love a good National Geographic. Kids used to watch cartoon and Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. I was watching Animal Planet. You hear me? Anyways, besides the point, I was so excited. And then on the way there, I said, now, wait a second. I'm afraid of the dark. What does darkness exhibit mean? I did not think to look it up. I just said, yes, I'll go. And then on the way there, I was just finally like, where am I going? Like, what am I doing? And so when we got there, the darkness exhibit is where they do like a simulation basically, and you are a blind person. Like, you're experiencing life from a blind person's point of view. Whoa. Okay. So anyways, they put you in this room and then the lights go dark. And I'm standing there and I'm like doing breathing exercises because, once again, not only do I stress out, I got anxiety real bad. And my brain will make up a situation in 0.3 seconds. Okay? So I'm breathing, I'm doing my breathing exercises, and I'm like, whoo, no, nothing to happen in this dark. I don't need to hear nothing. I don't need to see nothing. I need to, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, they move on with the exhibit, and you hear birds chirping, you hear water, you hear cars, and they're saying, now we walked on a dock. And I'm like, how are they doing this? Because like, we was like wobbling. I was like, man, this is a cool exhibit. I don't know how they're simulating this. Like, this is crazy. Like, what? I need to know how they did this afterwards. So we go to the street, and all of a sudden I bump into a car. And I said, now wait a second. There's real stuff in here. So I'm still thinking like, we're just probably walking down a hallway or something, and they just got stuff every now and then that, makes you feel like you're really in the places that you're in. Well, we get to the grocery store, and as we're in the grocery store, the tour guide says like, let's go or whatever. And I'm moving forward. At least I think I'm moving forward. But I start to hear the group that I'm with get farther and farther away. So I panic. Like, I'm like touching stuff, trying to figure out where to go. And I panicked so bad that like I ran my face into like a shelf, and I busted my lip. Like, I was bleeding and everything. And all of a sudden I hear somebody say, Jordan? And I was just like, yes, like, and it was our tour guide. And so he was just like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. And he was like, I couldn't hear you laughing anymore. So I figured that you got left back in the grocery store. And I was just like, what? Like, you couldn't hear me laughing anymore. And for those who don't know, like, I'm sure y'all have heard me laugh crazy on here, but like, that's me keeping it cute, right? So he wasn't lying. And so he was like, oh, yeah, I came back to get you. So he starts giving me instructions. He's like, I need you to follow the sound of my voice. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, you need to come get me. Like, when I tell you I'm freaking out, I was like, you need to come in here and get me. So he was like, I can't come get you. And I was like, why? Don't you have on night vision goggles? He was like, no. And I said, what? Like, in my mind, I've already set up how they got this set up. Clearly, the tour guide got on night vision goggles so they can lead us through whatever. He says, I'm blind. Oh my gosh. So he says, you have to trust me. You got to follow the sound of my voice and I will get you out of here. Man, y'all, I was so frazzled. I'm pretty sure I hit my face again. But eventually, I was able to get out of there. And it was so crazy. Like, periodically, I think about that man because, number one, the way he operated with me in that situation, he was somebody who was born with his sight. Like, because afterwards they reveal, like, they don't reveal to you to the end that your tour guide is actually blind, right? So I got the exclusive because I was stuck in the grocery store. But he was somebody who was born with his sight and he lost it. And so I can just imagine him probably having been uncomfortable before, probably having had to, learn this new way of life, learning this new way of living, but being okay with the unfamiliar and being okay with literally the unseen. Like, he could not see anymore. The patience that he had with me came from a place. It probably came from the place of, at one point, he was frustrated. At one point, he probably experienced the exact same thing that I'm going through, struggling in this little grocery store. And I think about that periodically because that is such a drastic change to have to deal with. Like, that is such you learn to depend on your senses. You learn to depend on what it is that you know. You learn to depend on what it is that you're comfortable in doing. Like, and God forbid something like in that situation, it wasn't like, today I'm talking about do better, challenge yourself and do better. But he was forced into that situation. You know what I'm saying? And I just be thinking, like, if he could have did that, surely I can get up in the morning and do some jumping jacks. I know I'll be talking about my weight all the time on here. I'm getting better. I'm trying to get there every single day. I'm trying. But it's hard. It's another thing I'm trying to overcome. Anyways, surely I can be okay with the unfamiliar. Surely I can learn how to be okay with trusting God, like trusting, where it is that he's leading me to. Trusting his voice. Cause even I be thinking about that. He said, you have to follow the sound of my voice in order to get out of this. Like he was like, that's the only way. And I was like, yo, like, what do you mean follow the sound of your voice? I cannot see you. And sometimes that's how I be feeling with God. Now I'm about to cry. That's how I be feeling with God. What do you mean trust your voice? I cannot see you in this situation. You're telling me to go? You're telling me to do this? You're telling me to do that? And I can't even see you in it? You talk about trust your voice? Are you kidding? That's why I be so stressed. That's why I be so, So I be so shaken up, But you have to be okay. You have to be okay with, not only getting out of your comfort zone, but be able to step into the unfamiliar. If all of your trust is simply in God, and that's it, bro. Like, I need to take a moment for myself. Sometimes it feels safe to resist unfamiliar things. Sometimes it feels safe to not take the paths that we are not used to taking. But sometimes the best way forward is to just trust the process, even when you can't see it, even when you don't have full visibility. It's like when I was a kid, my dad lived in his house and it had like this big old woods behind it, and I used to be, because he had a big yard, and I used to run, and I used to collect frogs, and sometimes it would take me to the edge of the woods, and I don't know why I felt like I would get sucked into the woods, but I'm like, I cannot go to the woods because it'll suck me in and I'll get lost forever. But then there was one time where I realized, I don't remember how, but I realized that there was a road on the other side of the woods, and that even if the woods did suck me in, I would be okay eventually if I just kept going. I may not have been able to see a straight path. I may not have been able to, see where I was going or know exactly where I was going, but I would be fine because there was a road on the other side of the woods. Whew. I was a weird child. Still a weird woman, but it's okay. So, me, Jordan Alexa, I have to be okay with feeling a little bit of discomfort. I have to be okay with feeling a little bit of pain. I have to be okay with feeling a little bit of uncertainty, because all those things are the price of progress. All of those things are the cost of growth. I think a lot of times we think of growth as this calm, I'm just getting better and I'm just growing and I'm just Even when you ever heard about people talk about a seed, like not only does it have to be buried and sit in the darkness, once it goes through, hopefully the gestation process, like hopefully it's a seed that has the strength to crack out of the shell that it's in. It has to push through all that dirt. Like, it's the cost. It's the cost, and you have to be okay with the cost. You have to be okay with a little bit of pain. You have to be okay, and you have to redefine what is happiness. What does happiness look like? You will have moments where you're happy doing something, or you're happy. I'm happy baking cookies and sitting in front of the TV, rubbing my feet together and watching Doug, watching As Told by Ginger, watching Chuck Zone. Watching Hey Arnold, watching Rugrats, watching Dexter's Laboratory, watching Powerpuff Girls, watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I haven't been able to watch my shows in so long, watching Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And so maybe it's that living a life of happiness is not necessarily about feeling good all the time. rather than just being aligned with what it is that God has for you, his plans for you, in the process that he will have you go through to, you know, I don't want to say achieve, but to continually move toward his perfect design for you, because you were designed perfectly. God does have a perfect design for you in life, in situations, in circumstance, through you off, from being that person. There was a episode when I first started the podcast, and I talked about going back to get your peace. A lot of times your peace is where you left it. Your joy is where you left it, right? So like you think about being a child and being carefree and not caring about what anybody has to say. You don't think about the fact that you have buck teeth. You don't think about the fact that you have wild hair. You don't think about the fact that you got a big head. Am I describing myself? Yes. But it's not until somebody says, hey, you're ugly, that thought intercepts, you living in your perfect design of just being a joyful, happy kid. And now you become insecure and self-conscious, and you start to carry that with you for the rest of your life into your adulthood. And you start to deal with, identity. You start to deal with, do I look like this? Am I even this? Or, how do I achieve? You start to equate your value with what it is that you look like and all types of stuff. It's not till you go back to that moment where you were a child and it was disrupted, and address it and pick that peace back up and pick that joy back up, that you won't have it again. And so the things that God is asking us to do and challenging us to do and being out of our comfort zone isn't necessarily always about achieving something or becoming, a successful, or even being an example for somebody else. It's really getting back to his perfect design for you, because he designed you perfectly. So I'll end the episode by saying this: assess your life, assess your mindset, assess everything, and figure out, are you living a life of comfort? Are you living a life of stagnancy? And are you living a life where you are trying to stay safe, but it ain't really safe for you at all? And that's it. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to follow, if you want to keep up with what we have going on here, follow at actually.jordanalexa. Or if you want to follow me personally, which seems to be y'all's preference, follow me at _JordanAlexa, JordanAlexa. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, all the things. If you're listening, make sure you rate, leave a comment, please, and thank you. I love you so much for it. I mean, I just love you so much in general, but still, I will love you so much if you do that. All right, guys. This has been another episode of Actually with Jordan Alexa. Peace.